Contractors, this is the first video you should watch in understanding SEO. Today, we're in Laodicea, where 2,000 years ago, this ancient city sets the foundation for your roadmap. So instead of sketching on the board, we're going to walk through today in a walk and talk journey. A lot of you guys have been told that you need to generate content and make videos and do all this content that somehow is going to cause you to rank or use these various tools. And I want to show you that search engine optimization, to be able to rank in Google, is actually about entities and building blocks and structural items. So on today's Marketing Mechanic episode, we're going to take a walk through ancient history and talk about how the foundational elements of your brand, of your company, of your personal brand, of your customers, of the city that you serve, of the services that you offer are actually the real ingredients, and it's the common sense that you need to be recommended by ChatGPT or by Google. Let's go. So most of you guys have been told that you should just be using AI to generate stuff, like generate images and generate whatever kinds of things, you generate stuff with different tools, but that's no different than looking at a pile of rubble, a pile of sand, and asking, you're trying to Photoshop it into something else, right? Because if you look at these blocks, what's really happening is that you have customer stories, you have team members. As you render a service, there's proof of that. There's people that leave reviews. There's things that are tied to who your company is, like your name, address, and phone, NAP, that identifies who you are. The logo for your vans, the reputation that you have in terms of people that know who you are. And those reputational elements, these are the building blocks that build your foundation. So the biggest mistake we see with this influx of all these AI tools is, let's just make up all this other stuff. Well, the AI can't make these blocks. We think of AI as like being able to restore. So if you take these blocks and you're able to reassemble them into the columns that you see here, into a temple where people can admire, then that's the proper use of AI. Because we want to use AI to organize, to clean, to polish, to structure, because you don't have an issue of not enough content. You don't have an issue of needing to invent more things. You have an issue of clarity, of structure. What do I mean by that? Well, Google doesn't rank websites. Google ranks entities. So what is an entity? An entity could be Danny Liebrand as a person. And the things associated with Danny Liebrand, let's say this was Danny Liebrand. Although actually that there is probably more accurate to be Danny Liebrand. So if we take Danny Liebrand, that entity is a person who has a podcast, who is an owner in a company, who is from Chicago, who has been to Rome, who has a pest control podcast, who is friends with Dan Antonelli and Tommy Mello. Those are all things that factually connect that entity with all the other entities. Think about you as a personal brand. Think about your company. Think about the other people that you work with, like a Kick Charge Creative. So you have these blocks, and I would ask, are these blocks that you have organized in a way to provide structural clarity on who you are? So it's so funny because it's like people that are selling cans of spray paint. They're like, hey, here's a new color of spray paint. Come walk with me together. That doesn't solve a structural issue. The fact that someone can do red spray paint over these stones that are all over the place doesn't solve the organizational issue. So look at the columns here on this temple. And you can see any individual column by itself is not special. Why would anyone come to Laodicea, which is just 20 kilometers away from Pamukkale, one of the 7 churches in Revelation? John wrote the book of Revelation. This is the church that's lukewarm because it's got the hot water that's coming from the hot healing water from Pamukkale up there, you can see behind those pillars, and then the cold water from the Colossae over there, the Colossians, right? The water coming down the mountain. But when you look at one of these columns, this is, for example, like a service that you offer. So if you're a plumber, and you repair tankless water heaters in Easton, Pennsylvania, and you're Sal Sciorda of Plumbing Pros, then I can assemble that into a sentence, right? You learned in English building blocks of subject, verb, direct object, adjective. So I can say, Sal Sciorda, founder of Plumbing Pros, fixes tankless water heaters in Easton, Pennsylvania for homeowners in the winter, right? And so all of those objects are connected together. Each of those objects is an entity. And so this could be tankless water heaters. This could be emergency plumbing. This could be, HVAC repair. So think about the columns that are in your temple, your business, and see, do you have the facts that are associated with that particular item? Is there solid proof that you have repaired lots of tankless water heaters in Easton, Pennsylvania? Or is it going to be more like these ones that are laying on the ground? This is like, this kind of stuff is more of what, because we've audited hundreds of these businesses. And it's not that we're auditing the website. It's not that we're using these SEO tools. We're seeing, we see that, okay, you have a blog post. Like maybe this is a blog post. This is a Merry Christmas kind of thing. This maybe is a review that someone left you 5 years ago on Yelp or Google Business Profile. But can you really expect, this is what's crazy about the world of digital marketing and SEO, is that people expect to be able to just take a bunch of bricks that are on the ground and assume that Google's going to be able to organize these for you. That's crazy, right? But imagine that there's a great story about you and you met Dan Antonelli and Tommy Mello or other people in your neighborhood. You took care of these various customers. So each of these is a real piece of proof, and you take that and you organize it into one of these, right? Well, how do you do that? Well, you structure it via what we call the topic wheel. And the topic wheel is how we take all the stories about who you are, when I say who you are, I mean the entity of your business, which is tied to the name, address, and phone, tied to the services that you offer, right? Tied to all the people and all the proof and the experiences so that it can be assembled in this way. And thus, any of these random pieces like this can be structured together using AI tools. So you can use AI tools. You can hire an SEO expert or a young adult in our AI apprentice program to be able to take these broken pieces, these real pieces of experience, proof that you exist, that you are a landscaper in Bloomington, Indiana, and you have, what's the proof? You have the equipment. You have the team members. You have the reviews. You have the trucks. You have the business license. And so all of those things have nothing to do with Facebook or your website or your Google Business Profile or Twitter. Those are just where the proof is shown. So think of your website as like the map, right? It's not the objects. It's taking all of these items together. It's the architecture of when you organize everything together about your business. Now it's clear that you have this overall structure of a temple, right? There's the overall structure of where people are coming to do ritual bathing. You have the structure over here of a stadium, which once sat 30,000 people. Incredible, right? So think about this other thing. So people talk about personal branding. They think of it as like, well, personal branding is about being famous, about, look at me, I'm driving a Lamborghini, I'm very successful. And a lot of you guys as contractors, you're humble, you're Christian, you're not about exposing your family and your life and all of these sorts of details. So yeah, why would I want to show that off? No, it's that you are a community. Well, the idea of like local service spotlight, which I'm a member of, is that we want to make you well known in your community. What does that mean? It means that the people that you're connected to, the stories that you tell, the relationships that you have, you're uplifting them. The real estate agents that you work with, your favorite restaurants, all of the things that show that, if, Detective Google would show that this is what you do, that you exist as a real entity. There's real evidence. There's real evidence here that Laodicea existed, right? There's real evidence that there's a church up there. There's real evidence, even though a lot of it's broken up here, right? So think of it as like people are the ones that are creating this evidence. And you as the founder are the figurehead of your firm. So all the people take direction from the tone that you set. All of these people, your customers, are everything that's happening is creating stories. Like here, you can imagine the story of 30,000 people. Like we can even walk down here a little bit. Imagine this stadium. Maybe there's gladiators that are fighting, but 30,000 people were here. And there was something going on down there, and people were applauding, right? And maybe people were taking tickets. Maybe folks were selling beer or whatever they were doing. There was entertainment that was occurring here. This stadium is your social proof. Think of it as every time someone clicks on driving directions from your Google business profile, every time someone sees a photo that you've posted on Facebook, every time someone watches a YouTube video, every time someone takes some kind of action, that's a signal. And they all have points. And a lot of people are so review driven, they don't realize like everything is a certain number of points. Like we could say liking a Facebook post is worth a point. Watching a YouTube video all the way through to the end, maybe that's worth 3 points. Leaving a review on Yelp is worth 7 points. Someone actually becoming a customer, that we can see that in Service Titan, maybe that's worth 100 points, right? And everything has a certain amount of points. All of that proof can be seen and structured and tied together into the core entity of your business. You're a plumber in Denver, right? You're an HVAC company in San Diego. And all the things that tie to that entity, all the people and where those things that the information associated with those entities, that they live in, Broomfield, Colorado, that they play basketball and they're friends with this other guy who's the coach of the team, and your kids go to the same church. Like all of that information gets associated back and tied together to show the signal strength of who you are, so that when ChatGPT, which is powered by Bing, which is a search engine by Microsoft, can see this information about this signal of people that are clicking on map results, of people that are watching YouTube videos, of people that are searching for certain things, that's the stadium full of people. That's what localizes you. That's what shows that you have clear proof and secondary association in what you say that you do. That's what we're saying about entities, right? It is not just, I'm going to generate a website, or I'm just going to generate a blog post on the 10 ways to, to fix a dirty toilet or something like that, right? That's not what it is. That's what everyone else is trying to do. If you understand the architecture and how a lot of us have these components of proof and whatever, if we can just organize that together, we can rebuild this stadium. We can rebuild the churches. We can rebuild the main walkways and the agoras where people are doing business, where people are meeting. And it just drives me nuts, because I've come at it from the standpoint of being a search engine engineer the last 20-some years, believe it or not. I guess it's been 25 years. And there's so many people that want to promise a shortcut. When really, if you do great work, you do the thing that you say you do, and there's proof of it, shouldn't it be common sense that in order to rank in Google, in order to be recommended by ChatGPT, you would want to take all of that proof, not generate fake reviews, not generate a website, not use a magic abracadabra prompt or some new tool that promises, oh, you without lifting a finger, we can help you rank in Google Maps and all that. Like, that's not real. That's like people who are promising you weight loss stuff. I mean, you know that's not real. So what is the solution? Well, look at it in terms of what is, so me as a search engine engineer, I have always looked at it from the standpoint of all these other people are trying to trick me, right? So what is a real signal that an AI tool can't generate? Well, it's relationships between different people. What if I'm on a podcast? What if I elevate our favorite customers? What if I celebrate team members? What if I talk about, things that we're doing during Christmas? What are all these things that we can do to connect all these pillars together? What are things that the AI can't do? Those things are going to carry more weight. I think a lot of people don't understand that, because they're so busy chasing the next thing, because they think they're going to be left out, because they think AI is advancing and is going to kill everybody or whatever it might be. But imagine you already have all of these items. You have these building blocks. You have these pillars. Maybe they need a little polishing. That's where you use AI agents. Maybe you can take, videos and testimonials and how-tos, and you can repurpose that into, you do video editing against it. You can turn it into a book. You can, for example, Dan Antonelli, we've been looking across his, I think, 470 videos on his YouTube, and they can be organized into here's examples by plumbers. We can organize it by here's before and after for, let's say, you're a modeling company. We can show, like, here's how we cut down an oak tree versus an elm tree if you're Anthony Hill of Bloomington Landscape. Like, you can take these items and polish them and make them nice. That's where we use all these different tools. But it's so crazy because there's so many different tool providers that want to make it all about the tool. Well, you're a contractor, you have tools. Obviously, we all use tools. All of us are licensed in a certain way. There's no licensing in digital marketing, which is why it's such a Wild West kind of thing. There's no city inspector. I guess I'm going to be the inspector. But it's the skill of the contractor. So the same is true for your digital marketing, for you to be able to rank in Google, for you to rank in ChatGPT. You need someone who's skillful in taking these components and following a recipe, following the architect plan to arrange it into a temple, to structure the items so that, for example, you have let's say you have a service where, emergency plumbing, right? Let's just say that's one. Well, what's all the proof that show that you do emergency plumbing in Easton, Pennsylvania? All of that can be structured where every story has an author. It's associated with a location. It's associated with related entities like the names of the people, the neighborhoods. It's tied to parts of the website. It's repurposed into Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, so all of it connects together, right? That's the way that you want to do. Maybe you run ads against it to drive more signal, which Google sees traffic. So indirectly, that helps you rank in ChatGPT and in Google because there's a real signal to people who actually are engaging on that content, not because you're just running ads for the sake of it or getting people from India to click on the stuff just to make it look like there's more traffic, but it's relevant signal. So if we know that in the same way you might do an audit, like maybe a home inspector comes and does an audit. I come in and I do an audit. We have a tool that audits your search engine visibility, that audits your entity strength, that audits your YouTube. Well, why wouldn't you use that, which is free? We provided that to all you guys. See what the output items are where certain columns are broken, certain things are missing, certain things can be refined and polished. And then you can do that all for free, right? And then you can have your young adult actually implement all of this. This person who is your flesh and blood, who you trust, who has just one client, you. They're an agency of one. You are their client. Or one of our other young adults that are certified in our program to actually implement this for you, to actually see what's working and why. And you can see exactly what's going on. You can see the architecture and the blueprint. You can see the items being repaired. You can see everything being structured. You can see, not just from an SEO, domain rating and links and number of pieces of content and click-through rate and average position, not just that, but how many more people are finding me on Google? How well am I ranking inside map results, which is 60–70% of local search, right? It shows the map, you want to be in the top 3. How many phone calls you're getting through your call reel. You want to be able to track that and tie that back to the work that's being done, whether it's coming through ads or flyers or updating the website or running social media ads, whatever it might be. You want to be able to associate all that kind of stuff back. And so I made this video for you while we were here in Laodicea because I wanted you to see that this whole thing of SEO is actually just common sense. These people that will sell you tools or claim that it's some magic secret thing that only they understand and you need to trust an expert because it's too complicated. I'm hoping to pull the wool off of your eyes. And if you find this valuable, I hope you subscribe to this Marketing Mechanic channel. I hope you comment with any thoughts that you have. If you want to reach out to me, I'm here to help you. I'm easy to reach. You can Google me, see a knowledge panel. And let's make it so that everyone understands the difference between having a strong entity, which is to be able to rank in Google by having everything organized properly, all this information into the structure of the topic wheel, tied to personal brands, which are stories, because people are the ones that are telling the stories. It's like the statues and the temples. That's the way we think of personal branding. And get away from all the nonsense and the noise of just hoping that you can take a pile of sand and somehow turn that into something. And if we can just put an end to all this nonsense of all this AI this and AI that, where there's some new secret that's going to cause you to rank #1 in ChatGPT, when you and I both know that the reputational elements and these ingredients are the most important thing, that would be a win for me. So I'd love to hear. What do you think? I've thought about this long and hard. What is the best way for all these contractors to understand what is SEO really? What is an entity really? If you want to go deeper into what is an entity, that's our first episode in the Marketing Mechanic. If you want to understand how to audit your site, that's another episode. We have a guide for that. Whatever you want to do, you want to run Facebook ads, you want to fire your agency, you want to hire a young adult to be your agency, we have training on all those. Let me know in the comments, how can I help out? What can we do to help you win? Because I want to see the contractors who do a good job, who believe in reputation, win, not just those people who are using different kinds of tricks that constantly keep expiring.